Well, hello, everybody. Welcome in once again to the Queen Sports Network. As always, I'm Mike Glennon, and today we are joined by one of the most talented guys to ever don a Queen's University basketball jersey, albeit for just 2 years, fresh off a German Pro League, a Pro A-League championship, I should say, Mr. Shaun Willett. And my friend, I appreciate you taking some time here to join us.
Glad to be here, man.
Well, we are certainly going to talk about your pro career and what you've been up to since graduating back in 2019. But let's talk first about the electricity that you brought here to Queens over your 2-year stint. You came in as a transfer from Indian River State College. And first off, what was it about Queens that made you feel like this was the place you wanted to call your home?
Oh man, where can I start? When I first visited, like the first day I visited, I seen the facility, I seen the campus, I seen the player, some of the players, a few players that were there. Todd Withers, Ike Agassi, Mike Davis, Jalen. Like I seen those guys, played with them, and I just fell in love instantly. Like I instantly fell in love. I told them, like as soon as I went there, I was like, oh man, like I already knew I was gonna stay there. It was crazy.
Well, you just named some royalty in these Queens uniforms. And, of course, you got to play with the likes of them, but also you now have your name mentioned with the likes of them in this program's history as well. We'll talk more about that here in a minute. Your first season here, you guys made it to the Final Four, lost a heartbreaker to the national runner-up Northern State, but I mean, what a magical run you guys had, largely in part of the chemistry between you and those guys that you were just talking about. What was so special about that first season when you showed up and became a Royal?
I think what was so special was that, like the guys, I think the year before I got there, they had just went to like the Sweet 16, and when I got there, like we were en route, like they just lost Daniel Camps, and they were like, oh, we need like one more piece to fill that in, and we'll be ready to go win it all. So like when I got there, it was already a Cinderella story in the making, and then I just came in just like the perfect piece, like just fit in, just do what they need me to do, which is play defense, rebound, fast breaks. So when I just came, like it was just all so perfect because everybody, no one on the team was selfish. Like everyone knew what the goal was. Everyone knew like how good everybody else was. So no one stepped on anybody's toes. No one tried to be the hero. Everybody just went with the cards they were dealt with, and it just fit perfectly.
Sure. And I know that's a big thing that Coach Lundy always preaches is becoming a family, whether you win or lose, being with one another and understanding each other as brothers and just kind of coming together. I have to imagine that kind of chemistry ekes into and gives you a lot more wins than just your actual skill on the court.
Yeah, definitely. Coach Lundy's always preaching every time, help the helper. Make sure you got the guy behind you, the guy behind you, and the guy in front of you. Make sure the person next to you always got to help each other. Like everyone has to help each other for everything to move smoothly.
Sure. Well, you mentioned you were kind of the defensive specialist, rebounding specialist that they needed, kind of the cog in that wheel that was headed on into the Final Four. But as a senior in 2019, I mean, you just exploded. I mean, you were first all-team everything, All-American District Region. You were named Southeast Player of the Year by the NABC, led all of the divisions in the NCAA with 27 double-doubles, averaged just under 20 points a game, 11 and a half rebounds. What clicked in your senior season? What was it about that year that you just hit the court and said, let's do this?
I think just in reality, like I just feel like having that finally like that space, like because going into my senior year, the coach Leonard brought me in and told me like this year like it's gonna be like on whatever you give us, like whatever you give us, that's what you're gonna get this year. So it like just having him tell me that he's putting it all on me to help us win and help us go as far as we can go, just really took everything off my shoulders. Like people would think it would put a lot on you, but it really just took everything off me because when it comes to me, like I know like whenever it's on me and it's on like all like my work ethic and like what I bring to the table, I have no worries about that because I know what I bring. I know what I can do. I know like how much I work to where I want to be at. So once that happened, like it really just made everything more easier for me.
It's funny. I talked to Coach Lundy about you a little bit, and he told me, he goes, the thing that always stood out about Shaun was that quiet confidence of just, like you just said, you're coming into the building, you know what your job is, and you go out there and get it done. And, obviously that mentality paid off, set a South Atlantic Conference and Queens single season record with 417 rebounds. You dropped 33 in the Southeast Regional Championship game, scored the second most points in a single season in program history. I mean, you were a 1,000-point scorer here in just 2 seasons. So you obviously have some natural skill, but I have to imagine the coaching staff, your other players out there on the court, helped to bring a lot of that out of you too.
Oh, of course. Coach Lundy and Coach Leonard and all the coaching staff actually just brought that from day one when I first got there. They told me it wasn't going to be easy. They told me if I really wanted to be an All-American, that I would just have to listen to them, just do what they say, and everything else will fall into place with my work ethic. And, yeah, I give a lot to them. I give a lot to my teammates. My teammates always push me. Daniel Carr, Van Turner, teammates that were my senior year, teammates my junior year. Like, just everybody really, that when I was over there as a community, really helped me push through, because without my teammates, I can't do anything. Okay, I can't win by myself. So
Sure.
Everybody really just pushed me to be better than I thought I was gonna be. Like, I didn't assume that I assumed that I was gonna be good my senior year, but I didn't think I was gonna be 20 points, 11 rebounds, like All-American, this and that. I didn't know I could do all that. And when I seen it, it was just like, wow, like it just felt special.
I was saying, watching yourself do that, and then the confidence that obviously comes along with that, just wanting to push yourself and strive to do more. It's an amazing thing. So, I have to ask this. I like to talk to all basketball players about this is, who did you model your game after, whether it was scoring or rebounding? Who are some of your biggest influences?
Who I would say I would model my game after, just from personally, just how I play, I would say really, in a sense, like LeBron James type way, because like I really can like push the ball and fast score. I can get my teammates open. I can get a rebound. I can score. I can shoot a little bit from far. I can do like a little bit of everything, and I do a little bit of everything like really well. I can play defense. Like, I just try to motivate my team. I try to be more of a leader each and every year of my basketball careers. So I mean, I really try to ever since recently, I really try to really look back at my game and really try to make it model more like a LeBron James, because I just love how dominant he is on the court and off the court. So just how he carries himself as a king, like as a presence. Like I feel that presence. Like whenever I walk into buildings, I feel like a presence. Like I know people feel like, okay, like who is that? Like they might look over, like make sure like they know or do not know me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I feel it.
Yeah.
So that's why I try to measure my game after.
I like that. Make people feel your presence. That's pretty good. And it's one of those things that, like a LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, you name some of the best players in basketball history, all of them had one thing in common, and that's that they went out there and tried to be better each and every game. And of course, that sounds like something that you model your career after.
Yep.
Well, speaking of career, we talked about your pro career and coming off that league championship, what I definitely want to get into in a minute, but you've been busy and well-traveled since 2019. You've played for now 3 or 4 pro teams, started in Luxembourg, went to the NBA G League, now back over to Germany for 2 straight seasons, including winning that championship. So first and foremost, what did winning that championship feel like, and what did it mean to you after all the miles you've traveled here in these last couple of years?
Man, that was a surreal feeling. I'm not even gonna lie. Like that feeling for that championship was so surreal. Like just like knowing how far you've come. Like when you get there in the beginning of August and you push through preseason, and you push through when the season starts, and then midway and you didn't get to go home and see your family. You don't get to go out because of COVID. You don't get to go anywhere like you really want. You don't get to see the country when you just got there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to travel on your days off. You can't. Like, just all the things that fell into this year, like going from being like one of the top players in Germany on a team that wasn't as good, and then going to a better team, and then being like a role player, like all that, like that humbled me. That all, like, it's so many that played in. Like, I really wanted to talk about this too. Like, it's crazy because I was gonna make it on my story and really talk about this, but all that just played into this championship. And then like when we finally got there and we finally won it all and it was over, it just was like finally, finally. It just was crazy. It just felt so crazy.
I say all your hard work comes to fruition, and especially like you mentioned, you throw a global pandemic in there, and it's a special sense of isolation, especially being that far from home. Being overseas. You mentioned it. Some of the cool things about being overseas and playing overseas is being able to go out and sightsee and do all that stuff. You weren't allowed to do that when you first got over there. So, can you talk a little bit more about kind of, just how you fought through those on a personal level to get through that adversity and then help your teammates win this championship?
Well, really, the only thing I can really say was first off, God, just talking to God each and every day, talking to my father. Me and him used to pray before games, pray after, just talk, like just really make sure like my spirits is always up. Talking to family back home, friends and family back home, my brothers, my best friend Eli, my best friend TB, my best friend Ike, who used to play, Mike,
Sure.
Daniel, just a handful of people really helped me get through that. And then just me being me, just me having that grit, like that grit to not ever let anybody, like not have any excuse to let anybody lower me. You know what I'm saying? Like
Sure.
I don't like putting it in other people's hands. I don't like saying like, oh, it's this person's fault. It's this person's fault. No, like I try to figure out a way that I can change it. Like I just say like it's on me. Like there's got to be a way that I can do something to make an impact on this game, this next game, or find a way to like to go for a walk or something, just to clear my mind. Like just little things, just really try to help me get through that. But it was really tough though. It was a tough year.
You know, let me ask you this, kind of harking back on what you learned here at Queens and kind of moving on into your professional career. You know, what are some of the things you took away from being here at Queens that have helped you in your journey, whether it's staying sane or just getting better on the court? You know, what are some of the things you took away from Coach Lundy, Coach Leonard, and these guys here, your teammates at Queens and everybody else?
Worth ethic. That's the number one thing I took. Is worth ethic.
I like that.
Coming to Queens. I had just went to my freshman year. A lot of people don't know this. I went to Alcorn State at HBCU, a Division I HBCU.
Sure.
Went there, things happened, didn't play as much, transferred, went to a junior college. Played all right, not as good as I wanted to that year. Then I finally found Queens. Coach Leonard found me for Queens, and I came there, and I didn't really understand. Like I understood how to work, but I understand like what level I needed to work to become where I want to be. And from when I got there, like Coach Lundy and that staff, they really showed me like, yo, like this is an everyday thing. Like you can't just be here for 1 week and then gone the next week and then here for what? Like you can't just be there mentally. You have to be there every single day and get better each and every day whenever you're on that court. And that just strived me to like, it just really gave me that last push that I needed to just keep pushing forward. And that's the one thing I always take back from Queens is that worth ethic. That's number one thing.
Well, I can promise you one thing. Coach Lundy will be proud to hear that. That is for sure. Because I know that's something I've heard him preach over and over and over since I've been here.
Every single day.
Amen.
I heard it so many times. It's crazy.
Well, hey, it obviously stuck with you and it worked. So there you go.
Yep.
You know, talking about that first year, you go over into Luxembourg in your first pro season. You had a stat line of 32 and 14. I mean, you were lights out, kind of picking up where you left off in your senior season here. You know, how big of a transition was it going from the college game to the pro game?
Well, I always look at Queens as a high level Division II team. So, I would say it was a hard transition a little bit, but I wouldn't say it was too much. It's all about like I said, like just trusting in yourself and trusting in your game. Like obviously it's gonna get harder as the levels go up, but as the game gets harder, you get better. So I feel like the transition it wasn't that hard for me to be in reality. I seen myself as a pro player when I was at Queens, so it wasn't really tough.
I like that. See yourself as a pro player while you're still in college. That's a good mentality to have. I like that. You know, talking to, and I know obviously the G League has been in the news for so much these past couple of years and stuff, but you know, can you talk about that G League experience and then kind of what was the ultimate decision to head back to a team overseas?
Well, in the G League decision, it was a kind of a rough path. Like a lot of people don't really know unless you really know me, but going into the G League, I even tell the G League people this. Going into the G League, literally a week before I left, I was at Queens and I was practicing with the team, and we were talking about it was me, Mike Davis, and the 2019 2020 team.
Sure.
So Daniel Carr, Van Turner, Ja'Kai Taylor, that team. So a week there before I was going to the G League, I got a call, and basically my cousin had passed away, like a close cousin to me. So he had passed away, and that just like kind of messed me up mentally. So when I was going into the G League, like just being there, like, you know, in basketball, if you're not there mentally, it's tough. Like you can't play your game if you're not there. So just being there, like on that level, that was a different type of level. I'm not going to have been overseas, like just like faster, stronger. That's when you really felt like, okay, like this is like G League NBA players, because, you know, players on two-way contracts and stuff.
Sure.
So that's when you really get to see, okay, so this is kind of different. And when you're not there mentally and everything, like it just wasn't there, just didn't work out. So like it was in my mind, in me, I know personally, it was never a doubt if I was good enough or not. I knew I was definitely good enough to be there, but it was just it was just more of a mental thing. So that didn't work out. And then I called my agent and we just said on to the next thing. So then we decided to go overseas and just been pushing since.
Well, in I have to imagine, I've talked to a lot of athletes, whether no matter if it's basketball, baseball, whatever the sport may be, a lot of people that go through personal hardships and strife like that, they lean into the sport that has brought them comfort for so long. And I have to imagine you did a lot of that, especially kind of retooling, re-gearing yourself, heading back overseas.
Yeah, it was a point that it was like for a good 2 weeks, like right after I got back from the G League, a good 2 weeks had passed before I even touched the basketball. Cause like, at first you don't really like understand what's going on with like when someone passes who's close to you. So like I just tried to focus on being there. And then when I really got back home, that's when it really hit. That's when I was like, oh, like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. Cause he was a basketball player too. He was probably like better than me when the family. So it was tough. So after that, I didn't really want to play. But after a couple of weeks, I was like, what else am I going to do? Like, this is what I do. Like, this is my love. This is my passion. So I have to play. So I just went back to just started going to the gym slowly. And then I was like, hey, like, I got to do what I got to do. So then that's when I just left. At first, I was overseas. It was tough being there because it was my first time going that far away from home in a whole different world. You know what I'm saying? The different country, different language. So at first, it was really tough. I was like really down. I was really sad. I didn't, it was cold. It was wintertime. I'm from Florida, not used to that.
Sure.
So that was
I get
terrible. That. Yeah. So all that played in, but I just kept pushing through. And then after that New Year's spot that time, that's when everything like really clicked. And I was like, okay, like this is where I gotta keep going. Like I gotta put on for like my family back home, my friends who's all rooting for me. And that's when everything just clicked and I came right back.
Well, obviously, a lot has clicked. Not only are you doing extremely well, but you got yourself a championship to prove to that as well. Just to kind of end things off in a fun way, I love the idea of the basketball tournament. Of course, TBT for short. A lot of people know it better that way. You played on the D2 team that was coached by Coach Leonard back in 2019 with Mike Davis, who also just won an overseas league championship. Todd Withers, Ike Agusi, and can you talk a little bit about that experience? And then, of course, you're hitting the court once again coming up here in about a month or so to get right back into the TBT tournament here in 2021. What is it you look forward to about that?
Oh, man. Well, when I went in there, that my first year with Team D2, that was fun. Like the TBT that first year when I got out of college, that was a fun year, fun time playing with those guys.
Sure.
Always loved playing with Ike, Mike, and Todd. Love playing with those guys. So that was fun. What I'm looking forward to most is just this year. Hopefully the fans should be able to come back. So that a little bit, even though it's not really a lot of fans who would cheer for you because it's not in Charlotte, but just the fans in general. I just love having fans there. Like the fans just make everything more alive, more realistic, like more real. Like you just know, like, okay, now I got to put on a show for them. Sure. But other than that, the competition, playing players, like it's a lot of good teams that's coming into the TBT now. Now D2 is getting a lot of more recognition. So that's great. So now teams are going to start buckling down and like paying attention to us now because we're making that name for ourselves. So I'm just looking forward to all of that, like everything really.
Well, and it's funny. You guys are in a unique position because there always has been that talk of Division I versus Division II, yada, yada, yada. But, you guys have guys on your team that are proven winners, not just the alumni from Queens, but guys from Ferris State, guys from Northwest Missouri State, guys that have won national championships, have been to the Final Four, and have played at an elite level for years and years. So that's got to be exciting to be able to step on the court and know you have all of that talent surrounding you, just going out there and just trying to prove people wrong.
Yeah, of course. Well, always got to prove people wrong with Division II. No matter what level, no matter what you do, you always got to – it's always going to be that one person that says, well, he went Division II. And I don't know what school he went to. And it's Queens in New York or is it North Carolina? Like, it's
Sure.
it's always that stuff. So that's always fun. I love that. I love when people don't think that we're this and that and just take us for these helpless guys who don't know how to play basketball. I love it. I love all of that. Because then whenever we pull up and we show them, then they realize, okay, these guys really can hoop.
Well, I got to shout out the TBT Twitter page because they threw up a quote that you had talked about of, it doesn't really matter who you are because nobody cares when you're out there on that court in that tournament because it's just everybody, it's one and done. You either win or you don't, and you just got to go out there and play hard. And sometimes you can be overlooked, but I know you guys use that fuel for the fire. So best of luck coming up here in these next couple of weeks.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, Shaun, I appreciate you taking the time out. Of course, get ready for the TBD tournament. We'll be keeping track of you guys, of course, with all the Queens alum that you have on that team. Coach Leonard being involved as well. We'll keep an eye out for you, but we appreciate you joining us. And who knows, maybe next year, come basketball season, if you're around the Charlotte area, feel free to hop on a broadcast with us, man. I'd love to have you on there.
Of course, man. Anytime. I told you, anything for Queens.
Absolutely. All right, man. You go out and have yourself a good rest of your day. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
All right, that'll do it for us here on another Alumni Spotlight. We thank Shaun Willett for joining us, and we will see you back here next time, right back here on the Queen Sports Network.